character profile this week is another Batman ally, the outstanding Alfred Pennyworth. Probably my favourite member of the Bat fam, purely because he's quite an interesting character that I think counterbalances a lot of the other characters in quite a nice way.
Yeah, I get that.
But we're going to look more at his backstory here, because there wasn't always a lot there, but over the years they've kind of filled out his backstory a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So before he was serving the Waynes at all, his dad was their butler. I'm not sure if that was just something that was added in New 52. I know a lot of comic book fans aren't fans of the New 52, but that was when I started reading comics. So it was his father that served before him, the Waynes, and he wasn't that close with his father. So he joined the army, during which time he did some kind of espionage stuff as well as being in the army, where he also learned a fair bit of his medical training that he would later use patching Bruce and Robin and whoever else up.
Yep.
And then after being a soldier, he was discharged. He went to live in London and actually became a moderately successful stage actor.
What the fuck?
Yeah, which I thought was quite interesting. I think they kind of added that to explain how he was so good at hiding his true feelings on things and play the role that people need him to play almost.
Got you.
And then just before he was looking to almost make his big break, his father died unexpectedly, so he flew to Gotham to take on his father's role as the Wayne's butler.
Interesting.
Now, again, I don't know how much of that is just New 52, which I know is canon now, but some fans aren't happy with it and blah, 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 but that's not a debate here or now. So when the Waynes were shot and killed, he became Bruce's legal guardian, which obviously carried a tremendous amount of responsibility, and he cared for him like he was his own son. Everyone who's ever read even a single issue of a Batman comic knows how much Alfred genuinely cares about Bruce. Doesn't always agree with Bruce's decision-making, but he cares about Bruce like his own son, and by extension of that, all of the different Robins and other members of the Bat family he absolutely adores.
Mm-hmm.
He is the true patriarch of the Wayne family, in the best possible way. And he makes them all better versions of themselves.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We've seen that before in the film and stuff.
We've seen that time and time again. The really thing that I'm not sure actually how many people know, because I didn't notice until quite recently, but some people might hear this and go, yeah, I've heard that before. He's actually the only person of the Bat fam that Bruce trusts to have a gun.
Oh.
He's willing to let Alfred carry a gun. He completely trusts his judgment, and doesn't feel the need to almost micromanage him in that sense.
Interesting.
And just a fun little side note that doesn't really matter too much. He was once a Batman villain, known as the Outsider. As we know, in comic books, everyone dies eventually. And other than parents and people important to backstory, they all also come back to life. Mm-hmm. But he was once dead and then resurrected and brainwashed and became the Outsider.
Interesting. Didn't know that.
I believe, again, I'm not caught up on Rebirth, which was what happened after New 52, but I believe in New 52 he died as well. Okay. And you actually found out he'd been a billionaire since the day the Waynes died, because they left everything to him.
That makes sense.
Or a lot of stuff to him, not everything. And he actually gave all that money to Dick Grayson, who was at the time acting as Nightwing, because he knew Dick was the best of them and could use that money to really make a positive difference. Cool. But Alfred adds a lot, and the reason I wanted to save Alfred to this week is we're getting nice and close now, so I want to discuss how I think Alfred is going to be used in this new Batman film, compared to previous Batman films.
Yeah.
Andy Serkin is notably a fair bit younger, at least looking, than previous actors we've seen play Alfred.
Yeah, they've definitely gone for a very specific look previously.
Yeah. Michael Caine was phenomenal as Alfred in the Christopher Nolan series, but he was very much the butler who patched him up and gave him pearls of wisdom.
Yeah.
But they're definitely delving in a bit more to this, like, used to be a soldier, kind of maybe a little bit of a spy, mysterious background a little bit more. Because Andy Serkin has said that he's like a code breaker in this for the Batman. He's actively helping him with the detective work.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if, because we're getting a younger Batman, although he's the world's greatest detective, you're not just born the world's greatest detective. So maybe he's picked up some of his own skills and then Alfred's going to be there to kind of push him along on that path.
Yeah, I think, because there's that one very short, small clip, isn't there, the two of them? And it's like, you get the sense that he's going to give him almost a lot of very tough love.
Yes.
And I think you're right. I get the sense that the style of this film, he is going to definitely get, like, so to speak, getting his hands dirty and kind of being the guy back at base in a way. Like, yeah, Batman's going to be out doing whatever he's doing for the Riddler, but he's probably going to be there back at the manor or whatever, the Batcave, trying to work out what Riddler's next move is, trying to help him figure out where he's going to be next. But I think at the same time, also trying to keep him, I guess, grounded and reminding him that, like, you are still Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, exactly. I think Alfred, with his love for the Wayne family and the power that it holds, is going to be a big driving force in Bruce, not just being the Batman, but also using his power and influence as Bruce Wayne to make positive changes to Gotham. Yeah. And what I've seen so far and the impression I get reminds me of actually what I think might be my favourite portrayal of Alfred, which was the Gotham TV show.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I didn't necessarily like his very common Cockney accent in that, because I always like to think of Alfred as
a British accent.
No. In at the beginning of Gotham, he's quite Cockney with how he likes to talk. I like to think Alfred more as like closer to Queen's English.
Yeah.
But I do get why they went for the way they went. But him being more hands-on in that, obviously because Bruce was younger, but seeing him as a more, I don't know, talented person, and more than just the family butler, was a really nice change of pace, and that's how I like to see Alfred portrayed.
Wasn't it in Gotham where they kind of addressed that he had a military background?
Yes, yeah. They addressed that in that.
So,
and we also saw the lengths he would be willing to go to protect Bruce.
Yeah.
Which I think is very important, because everyone likes to see Batman as this almost like a cold, calculated killer, but without the killing part.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't make mistakes, is perfectly decisive of everything he does. And actually, he's not. He makes mistakes. And that's why the Bat family is so important. And that's why I'm so desperate to see them in live action films, because they actually are what allow Batman to be so effective, because they're there to call him out on his bullshit. And no one does that better than Alfred. So I won't be surprised if in this film, at some point, we actually get a conflict between Bruce and Alfred, where Bruce is about to do something stupid and Alfred kind of calls him on his shit.
Yeah, I think you're right. And like, we already know that, like, this is going to be a younger Batman. So I think there's definitely going to be the sense of, like, he's still figuring this shit out. And, like, there's definitely going to be times where Alfred's like, you're going the wrong path. Like, you're taking this the wrong way. Like, check yourself, like, sort of attitude to him.
I completely agree.
I think it's going to be really interesting.